Brett Favre in the house. Packers Alumni Weekend honoring the great Bart Starr. Starr's widow on hand. And the Packer faithful appreciating the great tradition and success of Green Bay quarterbacks from Starr to Favre to Aaron Rodgers. 72 degrees, cloudy, showers possible, but that's later. The sun was peeking through and the humidity a little unusual at 75%. There is the 39-year-old head coach in his first season, the only rookie head coach to get a win on opening weekend, and Mike Zimmer, the feisty head coach of the Vikings, and I say that with great affection.
Why do you think their defense is so good? It's kind of the mentality of their head coach. I mean, he is fiery, he is feisty, he's no nonsense.
And as week 2 games go, Darryl, this is a big one in the division, both coming off victories. Vikings won the toss and deferred. And here we go from Lambeau. Dan Bailey with a boot. And it's a touchback. Before we take a look at Aaron Rodgers to the field and Laura Oakman.
Hi, Chris. Aaron Rodgers has been playing in the same system for 13 years, but the Packers coach's mantra as they transition into this one, whatever we can do to make it easier, let's do it. Aaron will be wearing a play sheet wristband today to help communication with him and Matt LaFleur. Matt told me it's more about third downs predominantly. He said, actually, it'll help me more than him so I can get the calls in quicker.
Yeah, thank you. To speed up the process, he had it on in Friday's practice, and LaFleur said it's just an experiment. We'll see how it works.
58.
Rodgers to throw. It has all day and wide open. He's got it. It's Davante Adams.
Now, this is a staple in the offense that the Vikings are going to face today. It's the over route. So there's Davante Adams on the outside. He's coming that way, and now he breaks back. So instead of bringing him from the opposite side into that void, a little change up right there where you break to the middle of the field and then come over to take the place of that over route.
A pickup of 39 yards to the 36 of Minnesota. Adams only had 4 catches in the opener. LaFleur said we have to get him more involved in the offense in this game, and they have. Both Jones and Williams are in the backfield, and on the flip, it's Aaron Jones. Knocked down around the 30. Aaron Rodgers, the all-time leader in passer rating, was impressive last year with just 2 interceptions. Last couple of years, that number slipped down a little, but as Mike Zimmer said, no matter what's called at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers is going to do what Aaron Rodgers wants to do.
Yeah, we tried to get into a conversation with him about the offense and the changes and everything. He goes, listen, the only thing I'm worried about is number 12 is under center.
19 on. Leave it. 58. 58.
The pitch to Aaron Jones with a big hole. Look at him go. Down inside the 15.
One of the things that Matt LaFleur, head coach, wanted to do was get a little bit more involved in the run game early on. Here's a nice block by Jimmy Graham. We know about him as a receiver. Look at 80. He gets Anthony Barr pinned on the outside. They lose contain, and Aaron Jones is in the secondary.
A pickup of 15 to the 15 of Minnesota. Aaron Jones led the NFL with a 5.5-yard per rush average last year. Zimmer peering in. So different from the start last week against the visiting Falcons back in Minnesota. Again, it's Jones and Williams in the backfield. Rodgers looks the other way, and it's Jamal Williams. He's headed to the end zone, and he's in with a Packer touchdown.
That is just a great opening drive. The little wrinkle on the opening play of the game with Davante Adams. They run the ball, get to the edge, get contained, and now a nice little screen pass. And a really nice job by Aaron Rodgers being able to change that launch point and find Jamal Williams for that touchdown.
Reviewed, confirmed, clearly in, and there's a hug from the floor. Jamal Williams taking the Rodgers flip. Crosby, the extra point. Well, they said they wanted their offense to be better, and it was. Opening kickoff right down the field, right into the end zone. And the Packers lead 7-0. Aaron Rodgers peering in the first play from scrimmage. Davante Adams had set up a drive that covered 75 yards in just over 2 minutes, and Jamal Williams, his 10th career touchdown and first of this season. Mason Crosby to kick off. Amir Abdullah watches it bounce and out to the 25-yard line. On the Viking offense, 4 straight seasons of 4,000 yards and 25 touchdowns. And Cousins last season, franchise record of completions, but again threw just 10 in the opening day win.
And that's one of the things that I think everybody is interested to see is how do you strike that balance? We know that Mike Zimmer wants to run the football. Last week's game was one of those outlier type performances where, I mean, Kirk Cousins 10 pass attempts in an NFL game, that's crazy. And he wants everybody to know, listen, if I have to, it comes down, if the game sits on my shoulders, I got to prove that I can win it.
Throwing on first down, and Dalvin Cook has a first down. He was the running star last week. 111 yards. He gets a first down just short of the 39-yard line. And this Viking offense, a change at left guard. Pat Elflein with a knee injury, so free agent Dakota Dozier steps in.
Yeah, and we talked about how much they ran the ball last week, but look at the skill set that they have in the passing game. So just remember, that was not by plan. That's how the game unfolded. They've got good players on the outside in that passing game.
Pickup of 13. Garrett Bradley, the rookie center. Snaps to Cousins. Cook carries. And Dalvin Cook across the 41. Blake Martinez makes the tackle. Last week, Martinez was in on 13 tackles. 6 of those were solo, and he takes in the defensive signals.
And the defense was the star in that opening season win against the Chicago Bears. Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith acquired in the offseason on the outside linebacker edges, a great addition. And then Adrian Amos and the draft pick Darnell Savage kind of shores up that safety position. So 2 areas that they needed to get better at, outside linebacker and safety. A nice job by the organization improving that.
It's Cook again. And Cook turns the corner to midfield for another Viking first down.
Mike Zimmer loves the feet of Dalvin Cook, and I want you to watch this as he's coming right at us. Watch the little hesitation stutter. Looks like he's going to bounce outside, then back inside, and then outside. Mike talked about how good he is in tight spaces with his feet, and then that quick acceleration.
He showed it there. He was clocked at over 20 miles per hour running the ball on the turf of Minnesota. How will he handle the Packer defense? He picked up 10 there. That's Adam Thielen in motion. In trouble. Cousins out of it. Throws and open at the 30. Falling inside for a first down at the 29 is Thielen.
Well, one of the things, if you run the ball successfully, you've got to honor that at the linebacker position. So watch right here. We're going to come hard in the run game. Look at the step up right there. That's going to allow some separation on the back, right up over the top to Adam Thielen. Good job by Kirk Cousins stepping up in the pocket right there to avoid that rush.
Cousins showing some mobility after a pickup of 20. Alexander Madison, the rookie from Boise State, is in at running back, and he gets the pitch and hit hard as he got to the 30 by Martinez.
I was really impressed with this defense, and you heard the Viking players this week talk about it. Much faster. If you watch them on film, they look much faster overall, more athletic, and that was the goal of the Packers. Mike Pettin sitting down after the season was over and really kind of got, everything directed his way to improve that defense.
He said, I want to make sure the quarterback knows at some point we're going to have a defender running free at him. Calculated blitzes, he said he might approach Cousins with. Cook is back in. 2nd and 10. Cousins can't find anybody. Hey, let's get a game break. Say hi to Carissa Thompson. Hi, Carissa.
Hello, Chris. So Bills at the Giants. Saquon Barkley doing what he does, taking this one 27 yards. His first touchdown of the season. Giants are really 7-0. Chris?
All right, thank you. Keep an eye on all the scores. Carissa Thompson, Kurt Menefee will update us. Now a 3rd and 10 for that Mike Pettin defense. 6 defensive backs. Cousins to throw, and does, and it hit Diggs, who tried to turn, but the defense was excellent over there by Jair Alexander from keeping him cleanly from making that turn.
Yeah, this is well done by the Vikings offense. They pick up the blitz, and now it's going to be the back shoulder fade to Stephon Diggs, delivered right there. A little bit to the outside. Good coverage by Jair Alexander. He doesn't allow Stephon Diggs to get both hands back to make that play.
Dan Bailey lines up for what would be a 47-yard field goal. He didn't kick any in the opener. He was 4 for 4 on his extra points in his 9th season. Bailey misses. Oh, that's a very different start for the Vikings on the road at Lambeau. They trail 7-0 in Green Bay against the football. The Packer offense leaping out of the gate here in their home opener, and the Vikings going on the road for the first time, dealing with a little disappointment as Bailey misses from normally a makeable 47-yarder in his range. Great field position after a 7-0 result on their opening drive as Aaron Jones starts in the backfield from the 37-yard line. Rodgers protected well. Jones gets a move on, gets up around the 43-yard line.
And what a different start to this game compared to last week. Now, those are just the opening drives, but you look how well Minnesota started out, how Green Bay struggled, just minus 12 yards of offense in the first quarter. So a completely different start this week. How do we finish the quarter? How do they respond to the flow of the game this week?
They go to the line quickly, and the Vikings are ready for Jones. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. Both finished fine last week. And it's interesting, the dynamic of Mike Zimmer and his defense wanting to be aggressive. He wants to go after his quarterback, the opposing quarterback, whereas Matt LaFleur told us you need big plays, explosive plays to win in this league. We saw that on the opening drive, and he's going to go for it when he gets the opportunity, or at least Aaron Rodgers and him will talk about it. 3rd down and 6 after a 2-yard loss. It's a 4-man rush, and right on target for a first down at the 45. Marquez Valdes-Scantling.
Vikings walk 3 guys up, show blitz, and then back off of it. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, nice little quick post, delivered on time by Aaron Rodgers.
And to the line, it's about tempo. Zimmer said he expected Rodgers to speed the game up.
319 on. 1 to bluff, beta, 1 to bluff. 1 to bluff.
Aaron Jones pushed backward, can't dig himself out of it after they gain 14. Anthony Barr and Jaron Kearse.
Interesting there at the line of scrimmage with Aaron Rodgers. Last week, Matt LaFleur, talked about wanting to run the ball more, but there's freedom given at the line of scrimmage to Aaron Rodgers. And you're going up with checks, and they were getting into the pass game a little bit more. Right there, you see Aaron Rodgers checking to the run game. They had the nice run on the opening drive that helped lead to a touchdown.
Just inside the 45 of Minnesota, Jamal Williams, who had the touchdown catch, is back in. He has the football. The Vikings smother him after he gets to the 40. It'll bring up a 3rd down and short. That was another thing that Matt LaFleur, who calls the offensive plays, of course, coming from the Sean McVay Shanahan system. But we got to stay ahead of the change, right? No 3rd and long against this defense.
Yeah, you don't want Mike Zimmer and that defense being able to pin their ears back. And that's exactly what happened. And you can see right there, there's Aaron Rodgers in a 3rd down situation, going to that wristband. You talked about tempo to the line of scrimmage, in and out of the huddle. Let's get a clean play call in that huddle.
Damn goal. And 77.
They need 5. Rodgers throw. It's a first down inside the 20. Davante Adams again. The big plays are going to Davante Adams.
Davante Adams working out of the slot. And again, good protection by the offensive line, and a little wiggle right at the top of the route there against Jaron Curtis. Gets him to turn inside and then breaks to the sideline.
I know he's at home and it's a different defense he's facing, but Aaron Rodgers just looks crisp the way he's throwing the ball.
I'm sure he was frustrated in his performance on opening week and wanted to be better this week.
5 out of 5 so far for him. Jones. And the Vikings deny any positive yardage with Eric Kendricks coming up to make the tackle.
And I think just the fact that the run has been sprinkled in there from time to time to help them out.
Only 3 rushing attempts so far. Rodgers a little lighter. He lost, what, 5 to 7 pounds. Said he's working on yoga and some of those muscle flexibility type exercises as he at age 35, and told us he wants to play into his 40s. Why not? Watching Brady and Breeze, but as he says, we'll see. Right now the focus is Viking defense. They've sacked him more than any other team. The pitch to Jones, and Aaron Jones is down to the 13.
We talk about the horizontal stretch in the passing game, but one of the things that this Sean McVay element of this offense is also the horizontal stretch in the run game. The jet sweeps, getting on the edge. A lot of it has to do with the motion, and anything that happens pre-snap, you really challenge Mike Zimmer's defense in their gap control.
And LaFleur went back and watched a couple of seasons ago the Ram offense against the Viking defense, and Zimmer expected a lot of the Ram Sean McVay style offense from this team today. On 3rd and 4, quick toss, open. Davante Adams goes out of bounds, but it's 1st and goal Packers.
Well, he's having a great start to the game this afternoon, and you know he's the one guy you have to stop. You know, the Packers still kind of waiting for that number 2 guy to step up with some consistency to pair with Davante Adams. So with a couple of really good corners, you know, what does Mike Zimmer do? Does all of a sudden he start to have Xavier Rhodes travel with Davante Adams even when he goes into the slot?
He has talked about that as an option.
Whiskey.
Rodgers drops to throw. Floats one into the corner. He didn't like what he saw. The coverage was good. In the neighborhood, it was Geronimo Allison.
Yeah, and the guy that we just talked about, Davante Adams, now he's going to draw a crowd. He's getting some double coverage right there. Eric Kendricks moving over to help out.
Yeah, that's what they should do. Last year, Davante Adams moved into the rank of top receivers, career high catches, 111, over 1,300 yards, 13 touchdowns. Clearly the best receiver and a favorite target of Aaron Rodgers, and we're seeing that today. You heard a oh from the Viking defense.
Full start. Offense. Number 63. 5-yard penalty. 2nd down.
Corey Linsley, the Packers center, called for the infraction, and John Hussey is our referee today. Backed up to the 12. It'll be 2nd and goal. Packers on their 2nd drive have consumed the clock and hoping to produce more points. Vikings missed a field goal if you tuned in a little late. Harold Johnston, Chris Myers, Laura Oakman down on the field, and a good one at Lambeau. 7 out of 8 for Rodgers so far, over 100 yards and a touchdown. Davante Adams is in the backfield. Rodgers the other way for the end zone. Touchdown, Geronimo Allison.
Well, Geronimo Allison right on cue. We just talked about one of the guys stepping up and showing a little bit of consistency for that 2nd wide receiver. Here he is. 2nd guy out, pushes the outside shoulder, breaks the cross. Nate Metter's face, and a well-timed, well-thrown ball by Aaron Rodgers.
Allison at 6'3", Mackenzie Alexander inactive with a dislocated elbow as the extra points of that secondary. Mike Hughes yet to return. Mark Fields was waived this week. Metters brought up from the practice squad. And Aaron Rodgers knew where to go with this one. He's got a couple of touchdowns. It's already 14-0 Packers. Rodgers delivers his second touchdown. And it was David Bakhtiari, the left tackle, and they said, how will Rodgers approach this season? He said, Allison, his 5th career, kind of like that John Wick character that Keanu Reeves plays, where he comes out of retirement and is relentless, a cold stone finisher. And we're just beginning.
You see the star. We touched on it for the team, but now look at Aaron Rodgers, and this is from the guy, and you saw it at the end of that game, went up and congratulated Mike Pettin on how well they played defense that night, turned to Matt LaFleur and said, I'm going to be better, I promise.
And said that the defense this Packer team has will make things a little bit different. There is Matt LaFleur. So how do the Vikings respond? It's on Kirk Cousins. He knew he'd have to throw a lot more in this game. But I don't think he expected to be down 14-0 this fast. Dalvin Cook stopped short of the 25-yard line. Kenny Clark, who Cousins called the best player on the Packer defense, got to Cook.
It's just not the athleticism on the edges. We've talked about Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith and what they did last week, but when you talk about speed, it's throughout that whole front. Those defensive linemen are chasing plays down the line of scrimmage.
And such an improved area in the secondary with Adrian Amos, who had the interception in the opener, and the rookie Darnell Savage, the first rounder from Maryland. Thielen in motion. It's Cook. And he'll gain a few. Zadarius Smith, you were just talking about him, Daryl, making the tackle. So showing some patience with the run.
Yeah, but you know, when you're running into this front and somebody that's this athletic, I mean, C.J. Ham's going to come out. He's going to try and chop him down, but watch the athleticism right here. It's a pretty good job trying to get through, but look at the hands of Zadarius Smith just kind of pushing C.J. Ham down. Then he pops right back up and makes the tackle.
The blitz, he gets out of it. Cousins, can he run for the first down? And he does. Up to the 40. The ball comes out as he slid toward the 40. Did not hear a whistle ruling him down, but the quarterback, there's the old rule about giving yourself up or fighting for extra yardage.
Well, he went head first, so if he's not down, if that ball is out before he touches the ground, it's a live ball. If he would have slid, you know, then they're gonna stop that play at that point so nobody gets hurt.
Cousins wanted to make sure he got enough for the first down. And let's look closely on the replay. The ball is out.
Now his hand is down, but the palm of the hand does not count.
But is there a clear recovery? That's what the officials will have to look at to make a determination.
Well, that's what they're trying to figure that out right now down on the field, trying to see if somebody can come away with it clean.
And if there isn't, and all turnovers are automatically reviewed here, so.
Recovered by Minnesota. It results in a first down.
Is that Irv Smith that was in there getting that? There were a lot of Green Bay Packer defenders there, and Irv Smith Jr. was one of the few Vikings around there. I'm not sure who came out with that ball at the end, but that's a heck of an effort it was him. That's a game changer if you put this Packers offense back on the field right now.
And it may be a game changer for Kirk Cousins on a third down run. He picked up 10. The ball's out and he's sacked. And the Packers come up with it. Dean Lowry has the fumble recovery on the sack of Cousins.
One of the big things the Packers defense wanted to do was to force Kirk Cousins to move off the spot, never let him feel comfortable in the pocket. He has not felt comfortable at the start of this game.
Most fumbles since 2015, and Kirk Cousins lost another one. Clark on the sack, Lowry on the recovery at the 33-yard line of Minnesota.
Leave it. 319.
Rodgers has it on the move to Davante Adams inside the 20.
I tell you what, they have found the matchup. They know exactly what they want to do today, and that's going to be stress this Vikings defense in the passing game. Their offensive line is going to have to hold up, but I think you make a great point, Chris. You've got injuries there with Mackenzie Alexander. Mark Fields was moved off the team this week. Mike Hughes may be back. He didn't make it back this week. They are thin in that secondary, and the Packers offense is stressing them down the ladder in the third and fourth wide receiver option.
Aaron Jones inside the 10-yard line. He's near another first down. Let's get a game break with Carissa.
Thank you so much, Chris. 49ers Bengals tied at 7 when Jimmy Garoppolo dumps this one off to Raheem Mostert. He takes it 39 yards for the score. Jimmy Garoppolo, 96 yards, 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. Niners up 14-7. Chris?
All right, thank you. As the first quarter is winding down here.
58. Here we go. 319. 319.
Rodgers was hoping to get him to jump, but why not milk the clock? It's a 14-0 Packer lead. Aaron Rodgers, 9 out of 10 and 2 touchdowns. You're watching the NFL on Fox. Packers have come out swinging and have a chance to make it 21-0. Second down 1 as we begin the second quarter at Lambeau. Daryl Johnston, Chris Myers in the booth controlling things. Fran Morrison and Brian Lilly. Rodgers completes to Aaron Jones, who goes out of bounds.
And you like that right there. First play of the second quarter come out. There you go. Right up to the line of scrimmage as fast as you can, trying to challenge that Minnesota defense and their responsibilities.
Floats it in there, and a 1st and goal. Rodgers now 10 of 11, over 140 yards. And how is Zimmer, Mike Zimmer, going to adjust? Calls the defensive signals for this Viking team. Aaron Jones, that's going to be another Packer touchdown.
Right now, the big thing, we're talking about the quarterback play, what the wide receivers are doing for the Green Bay Packers. Let's not forget about this offensive line. You don't start out 10 for 11 unless you've got great protection. They're running the ball effectively today. That offensive line's doing a nice job up front against a very good Vikings defensive front four.
Yeah, Brian Balaga told you coming off the ball, establishing the line of scrimmage is the key for us in this game. And they have shown just that. 21-0. And now this message from State Farm. Played by Aaron Rodgers. Another crisp drive. This one finished off with a run. Daryl, they've thrown it 11 times and run it 8. Terrific balance.
Yeah, they've got the Minnesota defense on their heels. So, yeah, just a great job of play calling by Matt LaFleur.
Crosby to kick off. Amir Abdullah, if he has the chance, and he won't, out to the 25-yard line. Well, you know, it's a rivalry game. You just never know what to expect, but what a difference a week makes. So if you're Mike Zimmer and the Vikings, they'll have to make defensive adjustments. Do you abandon the run? I mean, what do you do here to try to get back in this game on offense?
I don't think you can. You got to be able to stay balanced. If not, you're going to turn that Packers defense loose. And we've seen Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith already very effective off the edge. So they've got to just stay true to their plan. Every game unfolds differently week after week. You just have to adjust to the way the game's going this week. Kevin Stefanski told us, I've got to adapt and pivot. We'll see how he pivots right now.
Cousins on first down to throw. Catch knocked out of his hands. It was C.J. Ham, the fullback, but Jair Alexander knocked it out. And Kirk Cousins said the most important thing in this game is that we have to adapt to what it takes to win this game. He may have to throw it 40 times. That's what he averaged last year.
Yeah, and that's what it is from Sunday to Sunday in the NFL. You know, no game is the same. Now, the one last week against Atlanta fell right into the laps of the Minnesota Vikings. It's exactly their style of football. This is not. This is out of their comfort zone right now, down 21.
And he didn't expect a game, neither did Zimmer, like last week. But I don't know if they expected to be down this big, this fast. Dalvin Cook, that's what he can do. There he goes. Dalvin Cook, all the way in for a Viking touchdown. And Kevin Stefanski, the offensive coordinator, said there are singles hitters and double hitters. Cook is a home run hitter who can take it all the way at any time.
Watch the get movement on Jair Alexander right here with the motion going across with Adam Thielen. That's going to open it up a little bit there. Now watch the poor angle as the safety comes up for the play. And Dalvin Cook, don't take anything away from him. He ran away from that. When you talk about really good running backs and eliminating angles, that's exactly what he did right there to Darnell Savage.
A 75-yard run. Bailey makes the extra point after he missed the field goal earlier from 47. They didn't abandon the run. They just gave it to Dalvin Cook. And the Vikings are on the board. Vikings' first couple of drives, a mere 53 yards. Cook in one play, a career best 75-yard run. And he showed that 20-mile-per-hour speed as Rodgers caught a glance. Touchback, Trevor Davis. So Rodgers has been 10 of 11, 141 yards, 2 touchdowns. This Viking defense, how do they adjust to what he's doing?
Well, the big thing is that's your first play of the game. So now all of a sudden everything is positive. I thought it was a great opening drive. They stayed very balanced. They've had Minnesota's defense on their heels the entire game up until this point. Now you're waiting for something positive to happen. Can this defense feed off that last touchdown run by Dalvin Cook?
There haven't been any third and longs. In fact, they're 3 out of 3 on third down, so they've made good yardage on first down.
319.
It's Jamal Williams turning the corner, and Jamal Williams, see, that's at first down across the 35-yard line. Let's check in with Laura.
This was Mike Zimmer's biggest fear. He said all week his defense was being told, you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. He made them watch every single mistake they made last week to show them you can play better. We've seen that every offensive series, constant communication, trying to fix this. Mike Zimmer pulling them aside, saying, settle down.
Well, the double coverage on Adams helped, but Rodgers is loose again. And there's Adams, and there's a flag. Yeah, he was disrupted on his way downfield. And it's Xavier Rhodes who Zimmer kind of shouted out he's got to play up to his contract. He has said that before.
Pass interference. Defense number 29. The ball replaces the spot of the foul. Automatic. First down.
Yeah, working at the bottom of the screen, one-on-one together. You're going to see contact down the field, so just a little in and out. And right there as he breaks across. Such a nice job on the route running by Davante Adams. He got Xavier Rhodes to flip his hips, to open to the sideline, and then broke right to the middle of the field.
And the Viking penalties. Rhodes did a good job on Julio Jones in the opener, and he usually takes the top receiver.
319. 319.
Goes one-on-one.
Leave it. 258. 250.
The gain of 25 on the penalty. It's Jamal Williams. And another healthy chunk to the 35 before Eric Kendricks makes the stop. Well, the problem is, you know, they had 4 sacks in the opener, the Vikings. They're not getting to Rodgers at all. It appears they're not making him sweat at all when he goes back to throw.
No, and one of the things is they're running the ball very effectively. They're averaging over 5 yards a carry right now into that defensive front. They're able to do whatever they want to do. They've got the Vikings defense really off balance right now. Really good play calling by Matt LaFleur through the start of this game.
And execution of the tempo by Rodgers. He said that would be a key. He's got time again. Allison, who had the touchdown, gets a first down, and looks like the ball came out, and the Vikings have it. On the end of the play, it was stolen away by Harrison Smith.
The ruling on the field is a catch. Subsequently, the receiver fumbled the ball. Recovered by the defense. First down.
It looks like Harrison got a punch in there and scrambled for it before it went out of bounds. A Viking takeaway has shifted things here in Green Bay. Packers lead the series with 6 more wins, but the Vikings have only lost once in the last 7 meetings. They did honor the late Bart Starr here earlier. Brett Favre in attendance, and Aaron Rodgers has lit it up. But after the takeaway for Minnesota, Cousins to throw and gets rid of it in a hurry. In the dirt, C.J. Ham was in the area, but Preston Smith applying the pressure.
And also Dean Lowry inside. You had to sacrifice yourself as the running back on the release because you had pressure coming in from one of your down linemen was going to get to Kirk Cousins.
Cousins just 2 out of 5. Cook got him back into this game. And now the Viking defense with the 7th career fumble recovery for Harrison Smith. Cook to the 30-yard line. At some point, Cousins is going to have to play a more prominent role if the Vikings are going to pull this out. He said, you know, he told us, and you touched on it when we opened the broadcast, if I felt like I was trying to prove myself, now that'd be different, but what people want to see is, can this guy win? That's the last dragon for me to slay.
Yeah, if this Packer defense is able to shut down this running game. Now they just gave up a 75-yard touchdown run, so there's no reason to panic and abandon the run right now. There's a style of play that they have, and you got to stay true to that even at 21-7.
6 defensive backs again for the Packers defense. Cousins with extra pressure. He's got time. A high throw and overthrew Adam Thielen, who was open, and Cousins knows it.
It's why the defense makes this a difficult throw, because of how they've got it positioned. I want to see the window that he's got to drop it over the top of the flat defender. So watch, there goes Adam Thielen up over the top. You got to drop it over the top of those early the defenders, and then in front of Raven Green. Or Darnell Savage, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the rookie safety was back there. Britton Colquitt to punt. Trevor Davis standing at the 20 of Green Bay. Comes forward to the 30, and it's hit hard right away. There was never a fair catch. And Amir Abdullah delivers the shot. A clean play, and right at the 30, the Pack takes over. The clanging of the shoulder pads. No return on that punt of 42 yards.
Well, I tell you, you had the fumble by Geronimo Allison on that play. I mean, you very well could have had another one on that punt return right there. I mean, that's a great job by Amir Abdullah. I mean, it's a great job with ball security by Trevor Davis holding on to that. But right now, the last few series, this Packers team not playing as well as they did through that first quarter.
Can. 15. Oscar. 319.
Aaron Jones. Another 5-yard pickup on first down. WWE Friday Night SmackDown moves to Fox October 4th. So breaking news, the WWE Draft will take place live on Friday Night SmackDown on October 11th. It's on Fox. Draft will continue the following Monday on Raw on USA. One of the biggest events for WWE, where the destiny of all the superstars is determined. Friday, October 11th. And you'll see it here on Fox. Mike Zimmer, whose father Bill was a football coach in high school, also coached wrestling 35 years at Lockport High School in Illinois.
Single 5-4. 18.
short of the first down. It'll bring up third and about a yard. Packers 3 out of 3 on first down so far.
And like you talked about early on, staying ahead of those chains, getting into some third and short, something they didn't do against the Bears on that opening week game. Everything they had on third down was at least 4+. So
Matt LaFleur admitting that last week in the opener on offense, we overthought it, was his words. He and Rodgers vowing to be better today, and they have been against one of the league's better defenses.
19.
The pitch to Jones, and the Viking defense with a big stop. They only needed a yard, and it's going to be fourth down. Give Eric Wilson and Jaleel Johnson the credit for stuffing the run.
did he have an opportunity to get a little bit outside? There's the Mercedes Lewis, the kick up by Danny Vitale. Did he have the opportunity to come right off of Danny Vitale's hip and get to the outside? He kind of turned it up before that block.
J.K. Scott, a career-high 9 punts in the opener. Chad Beebe falling out of bounds. That was awkward looking with a blocker and a defender, and there's a flag down. Now, did a Packer impede his progress to the ball, or was he blocked?
Well, they were engaged in a block. I don't think it can be a foul on Trevor Davis.
Each team penalized once today. After a 4th and 1, defense with the stop, and here the punt. There's Beebe. It hit the Packer.
After discussion on the field, it's been determined that the kicking team member was blocked into the receiver. As a result, there's no foul on the play.
So Trevor Davis, as you just said, Darryl, was blocked into, and that's why the ball was deflected. And the Packers store busy, and so is Aaron Rodgers. It's been an up and down ride for this Viking offense, as you see with the possessions. But a little bit of a momentum shift. Dalvin Cook with a big hole, and it closes in a hurry across the 25-yard line. Again, it's Blake Martinez. He's everywhere. Cousins 0 for his last 5 pass attempts, plus he has a sack and a fumble, and then he also had a fumble on the run that they got back.
Yeah, and there are ebbs and flows during the course of the game, and you're exactly right, Chris. There's a momentum shift waiting for the Vikings to grab a hold of it right now. You go back and you look at the sequence of plays, the 75-yard touchdown run, the forced fumble on Geronimo Allison to take points, almost a fumble on a punt return, and then the big third down stop to get the ball back. So it's waiting there for Kirk Cousins to just grab a hold of it here on this series.
The run again. Stop short of a first down at the 30. At some point, you want Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs to be more involved, not to mention your tight ends with Kyle Rudolph and Irv Smith, the rookie from Alabama.
I think one of the things that was overlooked last week when you talk about 38 rushes and only 10 passes against the Falcons, Kyle Rudolph, the way he blocked at the tight end position, your wide receivers out there grinding downfield with their blocking skills. So everybody embraces the mentality of how this offense plays.
3rd and 2. Cousins to throw and dropped. Stephon Diggs had his hands on it, and it's 4th down. Well, you can't put that one on Cousins.
Now you got to make plays, and we just talked about the opportunity to kind of grab the momentum for the Vikings offense. Does a nice job making the route. He gets the separation. He's right there. Good ball by Kirk Cousins. He's going to catch that and run too. We don't know how much further he's going to go down the field.
Diggs had just a couple of catches week 1. Trevor Davis. Fair catch. 23-yard line. In honor of its 100th season, the NFL encouraging fans to join players, teams, and the NFL family in a year-long volunteer initiative called Huddle for 100. Choose a cause, volunteer just 100 minutes of your time, help shape what your community will look like over the next 100 years. Together, the whole goal is to reach 100 million minutes. Visit NFL.com/huddle for 100. 100. Track your minutes and get rewarded.
Watch some regular. Get up. Yeah, we'll leave it. Yeah, we're good. U19. U19.
Aaron Jones. The running game has worked well for Green Bay to set up Rodgers' throws, or vice versa, because that's another good first down game.
It's very hard, and you mentioned this Vikings front being a penetrating front. That's what they would like to do, but they can't do that really here. This is that zone scheme. You've got to maintain your gap, so you start to move laterally down the line of scrimmage, and it kind of falls right into the exact type of running style when you've got Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams back there.
U19. U19. Hold on. Can. Yep, you got it, Bob. 258. 258.
After a gain of 6, Rodgers spins. He's on the run and has to throw early, incomplete. The pressure chasing him and knocking him to the turf. Danielle Hunter. One of the few times in this game we've seen Rodgers have to sweat it out back there.
Got to trust his running back a little bit more. This is not a bad job in pass protection. He's going to step up and make the block on Harrison Smith, but he feels it, spins out, and now you got 99 coming after you. A lot of athleticism there from Danielle Hunter.
Now a third down at 4. That's Jones, top of your screen as a receiver. Running back winds up. Rodgers goes in front of that, and it's a first down catch. Davante Adams. Time for a game break, and Kurt Menefee. Kurt.
All right, we don't have to fill you in on the background of Antonio Brown in his last couple of weeks, but we can fill you in that he scored for the first time in a Patriots uniform, a 20-yard reception from Tom Brady. And right now, down in Miami, they have the lead 13-0 pending the extra point.
All right, check his helmet, check his feet, check his contract. After a gain of 6 from the 35-yard line.
Sit down.
Full start. Offense, number 17. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Saw a shake of the head from Aaron Rodgers. That's the second one of those today.
Yeah, Mike Zimmer said, hands down, the best hard count in the NFL. He's so good, he's gotten 2 of his guys.
His own guys.
Jump today.
And the Vikings, what did Linval Joseph tell us, Darryl, when we met with him? He said, I watch the ball. I'm not listening to Aaron Rodgers because he'll get you. First and 15.
We 19.
Rodgers to throw. Back it up. Airs it out for Davante Adams, who can't hold it. Harrison Smith was running with him.
This is just a heck of a throw by Aaron Rodgers. It's a 2-man route, so it's hard play action. You got 2 guys going out, and I mean, he throws this from a stationary platform. Look at where that is. Great job by Harrison Smith at the point of the catch.
That was right on the money, and he was back, almost had to backpedal, and then Aaron, his arm is still as strong as it's ever been at age 35. He talks about keeping your legs strong, because that'll go first. We've seen him throw the ball crisply today. 12 out of 15, over 150 yards. Valdez-Scantling. Scampering to the other side of the field. It'll lose yardage at the 26. There's Harrison Smith again. And Rodgers called him one of the best in the game at his position. Not only does he disguise things well, he makes big plays, and he has so far in the first half, at least after the Packers got out to that big lead.
Well, we talked about the improvement in the athleticism on the Packers defense, but this Vikings defense has always had it, and you don't want to get caught in this situation running laterally, because the pursuit by that defense, they're going to get you eventually.
Harrison in his 100th NFL start and the 100th season of the NFL. 3rd down and 18. Rodgers incomplete. The pocket collapsed, and then Everson Griffin forced him to get rid of it.
And that's where this defense makes life crazy for offenses. It's only going to be 3 guys rushing. It's a 3-man rush, so they're going to drop 8 in coverage. And the ability for a front to be able to get that amount of pressure with just their 3 guys, very impressive.
So after going 3 for 3 on 3rd down, they've misfired on the last 2. This one a very tough one with 3rd and long after they failed on 3rd and short. J.K. Scott standing inside the 15, ready to punt it away. Chad Beebe from the 30 of the Vikings, straight ahead and up to the 40. Dalvin Cook with one handoff took it 75 yards after being used as a receiver and really got the Vikings back into this game when they were down 21-0.
Yeah, I think you look at what they're doing here offensively, and there's nothing there. It's 21-0, and it's starting to slip away, and you just hand the ball to Dalvin Cook, and 75 yards for the touchdown.
So the Vikings have showed that they're comfortable still running. Down 11. Down 14. They missed a field goal. They would be down just 11. Cousins. Kyle Rudolph. He didn't have a catch last week. That's his first of the year.
And that's a good first down play call because they've gotten in kind of a routine. They've been running a lot on 1st and 2nd down and kind of getting the 3rd down and trying to convert at that point. So a nice little play action here to start this drive on 1st down.
9 pass attempts. Cousins is 3 out of 9. They've run the ball a dozen times. Alexander Madison, the rookie from Boise State, is in. Cousins fakes to him. He's in trouble and gets rid of it right away. Preston Smith applying pressure. Chad Beebe had a chance down the sideline when he was alone, but I don't think Cousins had any time.
No, there's no way. I mean, you're going to have an Preston Smith plays it great. Watch, he's going to pop in. He's just kind of waiting outside, doing his job, not chasing it down from the backside and allowing Kirk Cousins to get out on the edge.
1 out of 4 on 3rd down for Minnesota. Need to get to midfield. Amir Abdullah comes in. Top of your screen, the running back to the receiver spot. That's Thielen in the slot for Cousins, who's protected for a moment and intercepted. It's Preston Smith. Bounced out of the hands of the Viking receiver, and Preston Smith comes up with the takeaway. And the Viking defense wants their moment of glory. So let's all pose. And as Aaron Rodgers said, this is a different defense now in Green Bay.
There's Preston Smith right here. You're worried about him in the pass rush element of this play, but he's going to drop off and just kind of feels the middle of the field right there. I don't know. It seemed like there were better options for Kirk Cousins at that time. You've got 3 guys right there.
Darnell Savage looked like he got his hand in there on the way to Diggs. But Preston Smith alert, one of those free agent acquisitions on defense you talked about. And now Rodgers will flip it to the sideline. Allison goes out of bounds. Well, I love the relationship between, Aaron Rodgers speaks highly of Mike Zimmer, the opposing coach, called him a pirate. He's a no bull kind of guy. And finally went up to him one time and said, man, I love the way. And Zimmer, first time he met him, was like, well, I hate you. It's a love, it's a love-hate relationship, but great respect for each other.
2-7,
The cat and mouse game between an offensive mind of a future Hall of Famer and a defensive-minded head coach.
19.
Jones, big hole. First down inside the 35 of Minnesota.
To me, that's been the difference here today, is how efficient they've been running the football.
Aaron Jones, the leading rusher in UTEP school history, mentioned his yards per carry last year. Leading rusher in 2018, played in just 12 games, missed the first 2 with a suspension, also had a knee injury, and averaging 4.5 today. And again, the first down yardage that Green Bay is getting is changing this game for Minnesota's defense. Jones again. Rodgers has not been sacked at all as we near the 2-minute warning. Each team, all 3 timeouts. 2 turnovers for the Vikings. Lost fumble by Cousins and an interception moments ago. Harrison Smith has a fumble recovery from Geronimo Allison. Aaron Jones met hard, but the pile goes forward. Kendricks was there first. We've reached the 2-minute warning. And the storied rivalry of the Vikings and the Packers. It's been a head shaker for Minnesota. Rodgers the upper hand and has the football. The Visa halftime report coming up, and it's America's game of the week almost 3 times. You got the Redskins Cowboys. I'll have highlights of that. More on this game. And then later, America's game of the week officially with the Rams and Saints. Halftime highlights and a look ahead to that game. 3rd and a yard. Jamal Williams, the bigger back of the 2. Rodgers throws instead. And hit hard is Allison, and he didn't get the first down. It was Harrison Smith again.
A couple of 3rd and shorts that Matt LaFleur is not going to be real happy with. It looks like Green Bay's ready to go on a 4th down right here.
They called ahead. LaFleur, the play caller, said if we don't get it, we're going. See if the Vikings are ready. Rodgers, and they're ready for Williams. An awkward couple of snaps for Green Bay on offense. And Aaron Rodgers is complaining about something here.
Penetration by the Vikings front. Look at how many Vikings have crossed the line of scrimmage into the Green Bay Packer backfield. So a hurry up, and I love the planning. Hey, we're going to go for it on 3rd and short, and if we miss it, here's what we're doing on 4th down. But then to come out and have that many Viking defenders in your backfield, something went wrong for the Green Bay Packers and their blocking assignment on that side.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why. Obviously, I understand Rodgers upset, but why working with the official there if there was something he spotted? Viking defense has turned the tide of this game, but they're still down 14. Dalvin Cook. And he's run up the sideline by Blake Martinez.
Well, as challenging as it's been for the Vikings here in the first half, you know, you have a good drive here and get 7 points. It's 21-14. It's a 1-possession game going into halftime as poorly as you've played.
Holding. Defense number 97. That 5-yard penalty will be enforced from the end of the run. Automatic. 1st down.
Kenny Clark called for the infraction. Discussing that with the officiating crew. Spotted at the 36. All 3 timeouts. Cousins holds it too long, but gets rid of it just in time to Chad Beebe. The burner, Chad Beebe. Can he go the distance? Inside the 5 of Green Bay. Darnell Savage saved a touchdown, and there's a flag down inside the 10-yard line. A 61-yard run, and Beebe did most of that. Thielen arguing as if maybe they're going to call him for something.
That's just a great adjustment by Chad Beebe and a tremendous job by Kirk Cousins keeping that play alive.
Looked like he was going to go down with a sack. A low throw, but Beebe scooped it.
A lot of respect from Mike Pettin to Kirk Cousins and what he can do from the pocket when it's clean.
After the play was over, there are fouls on each team. Personal foul, number 19. Personal foul, number 23. Because both those fouls were after the play was over, they will offset first down.
The 61-yard play stands. The call was on Jair Alexander and Adam Thielen. But let's look at the play by Beebe.
Yeah, and a great adjustment here. He's crossing the field. He sees his quarterback in trouble. Boop, I'm going to come back, a little bit of help. And that was the great job by Kirk Cousins, because I thought he was sacked. I thought he was going down to the ground.
Second-year player from Northern Illinois, undrafted free agent, had one catch of the opener. What a run by Beebe. On first and goal, Cousins. Catch made, and that's a touchdown. Stephon Diggs into the end zone. Hesitated at the goal line, hung onto the ball and got in. And what was once 21-0, it's now a one-score game.
You got to be wary of Stephon Diggs in that situation. He releases under Preston Smith, just kind of gets lost. And he got dropped in coverage right there. It looked like he got, as he went underneath Preston Smith, his defender dropped him and let him cross the field.
And he did a good job, Darrell, of dipping to hold on to the ball.
The previous play is under review.
Yeah, as B.J. Goodson came over and hit him and tried to knock it loose, but Diggs held on. At least that's the ruling on the field. They'll make sure. Take a closer look. A booth review, a scoring play, ruled a touchdown. John Hussey has taken a look. Diggs caught it at the goal line, took it in. That is clear and obvious.
After review, it was determined that an offensive player was blocking. Therefore, it's offensive pass interference. We will enforce that 10-yard foul from the 3-yard line. It'll be first and goal from the 13.
Dean Blandino with Darrell Johnston, Chris Myers. Dean, take us through. Darrell spotted Cook on this in the end zone.
Yeah, that's the only player I could imagine that they would consider for offensive pass interference. Remember, if you're blocking downfield more than a yard before the ball is caught, that's OPI. You know, he gets jammed. Is he really blocking? We didn't get a number from the referee, but really that's the only player that could possibly have been blocking downfield.
Would you let that go normally? Is that clear and obvious, that kind of interference?
It does not appear to be clear and obvious, and that has been the standard. So okay. I was surprised that they created that foul.
Oh, thank you, Dean Blandino, our rules analyst. So the touchdown is off the board. We were not given a number. And Cook, who we think is the guilty party, carries the football.
Yeah, and I tell you, this is one of the things that nobody really thought about when this rule was put into place. So on a scoring play, on a turnover, everything is open for review. So now that pass interference, offensively or defensively, can be determined by review, that's open.
Yeah, and Dean, if you're officiating, you let this go, right? I think he said he would. He indicated such. Second and goal from the 13. Cousins off the hands of Diggs, but the defense was good as Alexander was there. It's almost if he was led a little bit more, Cousins could have connected.
He's going to be stacked behind Adam Thielen right here. It's a good route. It's a good throw, but it's just a good play by Jair Alexander. You see him kind of come off his guy, come across and make the play on the ball.
Alexander, clearly the Packers' best cover guy, best one-on-one guy, and showed you there. And we have a timeout. Minnesota will have 2 timeouts remaining. Let's check in with what's coming up at the half with Kurt Menefee.
Man, what a Visa halftime we've got for you today. We'll have highlights of that big Patriots-Dolphins game, plus the Bills and Giants, and an exclusive interview with Rams head coach Sean McVay as they get ready for that huge rematch with the New Orleans Saints in America's Game of the Week. It's all coming your way when we come back with the Visa halftime.
Sean Payton, according to Jay Glazer, getting a contract extension of 5 years with the Saints. We'll take him through 2024. More of that. That's why you got to watch the Fox NFL pregame show.
How old will Drew Brees be at that time? 5 years from now? They're going to be together for another 5 years?
Still be playing. On third down, Cousins, end zone overthrows. Kyle Rudolph. Touchdown off the board because of offensive pass interference, and now Dan Bailey will try a field goal.
Trying to find Kyle Rudolph in the middle of the end zone. Use that height advantage down here. Get in behind the linebackers just a little bit too high.
Yeah, and I saw Cousins signaling, watch, as if he wanted him at the back of the end zone. It appeared using that 6'6" frame of Rudolph, who had a Hail Mary touchdown last year. Bailey, who missed earlier from 47, makes from 31. So now it's an 11-point game at 21-10. For a moment there, it looked like a one-score game. That's what's great about these rivalries. At one point it's 21-0, and all of a sudden looks like the Packers are going to run the Vikings out of here, and things change.
Yeah, well, that game kind of sat there throughout the second half of that second quarter. One of the teams to come and grab that momentum back, and it didn't seem like either one could. And boy, it looks like we're going to get a 21-14 game. One possession coming out here in the second half. But again, you know, everybody, the reaction from that NFC Championship game to get,
that's a big call.
You know, to get pass interference reviewable. Now that opens that box up in that situation. And as Dean Blandino told us, he wouldn't have called that. So we're talking about a big point swing right there from 21-14 to 21-10.
And John Hussey getting assistance, our referee, from not only the replay booth but from New York on some of these types of things. So it seemed like the Vikings defense was able to get their team back in it. Yes, Cook had the run, but they had a takeaway. They stopped Green Bay on some third downs when the Packers were rolling, and they may have to live on that in the second half if Cousins isn't sharper. Trevor Davis on the touchback. And look, Aaron Rodgers with 3 timeouts in 51 seconds isn't done yet.
No. Well, we watched Drew Brees, you know, last Monday night against the Houston Texans with 34 seconds left. Get down the field and get a field goal attempt. And Mason Crosby feels good. You know, end of half kickoff, he said we could go to the 40. If we can get to the 40, maybe even the 41-42 for an attempt.
Yeah, the arm strength easy for Rodgers, who, by the way, worked on that mustache, cleaned it up a little, got more facial hair. Packers have averaged 8 yards on first down in this first half. All 3 timeouts. And he gets out of it. Like the Vikings and Daniil Hunter were going to get a sack. He has not been sacked today.
The situation here, this is where this front for the Vikings, you know, it's pretty much going to be passing downs here. You might be a little bit careful here on the second down. Maybe you get a screen or a draw type play to see if you can catch them upfield in a pass rush situation to kind of jumpstart this drive. But this really kind of leads itself to that down 4 of the Minnesota Vikings.
Vikings will get the ball to start the second half. Rodgers with a flip under. Oh, what an excellent defensive play. Grabbing him around the ankles. Jamal Williams, had the football. Hercules Matafa from Washington State. And Minnesota will use a timeout to force a 3rd and 16 call from the Packers, and the Vikings will still have 1 remaining, depending upon what Rodgers does. The numbers for Rodgers on 3rd down. They were 3 for 3 converting. Now 4 out of 7. It's a loss of 6 on that last play. How conservatively do you play this?
Well, you tried to last time with the screenplay. I tried to get the first down. Might as well. I wouldn't be conservative right here. I'd be going to try to extend this drive.
Aggressive thinking from you. Rodgers on the roll. Doesn't like what he sees and gets rid of it.
Good job defensively by the Vikings, because that's kind of that Hail Mary type thing we see where Aaron Rodgers drops back and then rolls it gives your routes an opportunity to get further down the field. So they were going for a conversion on that 3rd and 16. And just frustrating for Aaron Rodgers. The last few series here in the first half, the 3rd and short that went 4th down that got stuffed, that one right there with the big play on 2nd down to force it to 3rd and 16 on the negative tackle on the screen.
Well, it does stop the clock with the ball being incomplete. So the Vikings able to conserve that last timeout, depending upon field position and the punt from Scott. Levy waving everybody away, and it goes out of bounds somewhere inside the 40. We'll check the exact spot, what they give, the officials give that on that kick. 23 seconds, 1 timeout, and Vikings get the football. At least Green Bay will be kicking off to start the second half.
I talked to Dan Bailey as he was warming up out there pre-game, and he was good from 55 with plenty of distance behind that. And I said, you know, end of half, end of game kick, what are you thinking about? He goes, easily the 40-yard line, possibly the 42, 43 if they'll give me that shot.
Amir Abdullah in the game. Pass is caught by Diggs. There's a flag down, and he's knocked down around the 17-yard line.
Pass interference. Offense, number 14. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. First down.
Calls are going against the Vikings in the second quarter here.
Well, I tell you, 2 killer offensive pass interference penalties here. Let's watch Stefan at the top of the route. You can definitely see the separation he created with Kevin King with that shove on that shoulder.
They are calling it close on pass interference, offensively especially. So 1st and 20 takes them all the way back to their own 27-yard line. Abdullah on the carry. And looks like Mike Zimmer and the Vikings have had just about enough.
Yeah, it would have been interesting if without that pass interference they got to the 47-yard line of the Green Bay Packers. What would have happened if they would have had an opportunity for a long field goal with Dan Bailey?
Stephon Diggs had a touchdown taken off the board. It wasn't his offensive pass interference, but moments ago that was, and he's talking to the official about it. The Visa halftime report is coming up. Packers will be kicking off to the Vikings with a 21-10 lead at Lambeau. Today's game flow is brought to you by Progressive. The flow of the game was all Packers. Took the opening drive in 21-0 before Minnesota got on the board. A missed field goal or could be closer. A touchdown taken off the board. Stephon Diggs, who officially does not have a catch in this game after his touchdown. It wasn't his offensive pass interference with help from New York. The officiating crew, offensive pass interference off the board. They settled for 3. Okay, so you're the Vikings. You've worked your way back into this. You're getting the ball to start the second half. Tell me what we should expect from Kirk Cousins.
Well, number one, you've got to put that frustration at the end of that first half behind you. You mentioned the offensive pass interference that was determined in review on the Stephon Diggs touchdown, and then they got another kind of ticky-tack one there at the end. On an opportunity to get the ball down in for a field goal opportunity. So put that behind you. You got to come out here and start to play football. The momentum of this game sat there the entire second quarter, waiting for the Packers or the Vikings to seize it. Who's going to seize it when they come out here in the third quarter?
Well, the Packers' first 3 drives, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. Then on 5 drives since, no points. So the Minnesota defense has made some adjustments.
Yes, they have, and they've made some big plays, some 3rd and shorts, and then they had the 3rd and short where they went for it on 4th down. So, you know, kind of the heart and soul of this team, the way they're built about the defense, they've given them the opportunities. It's up to the offense. It's up to Kirk Cousins. We talked about this, an opportunity to win a game, to show everybody that you can win games. This is one of those chances for Kirk Cousins here in the second half to come out and show that he can win games by himself.
Mason Crosby. It'll be a touchback. Vikings offense out to the 25. We mentioned it at the top of the broadcast when Brett Favre was in the house honoring the great Bart Starr, his widow Cherry there. Favre wearing that t-shirt with the number 15 that Starr wore. Mark Murphy, Roger Goodell, the commissioner, here as well to present an actual helmet from the 1960s team, the Super Bowl teams. And Favre and Rodgers applauding Bart Starr, not just what he did as a football player, but so much in the community here that's still making positive things happen for people in and around the Green Bay area. He'll lose yardage. Dalvin Cook knocked down by Dean Lowry to the field in Laura.
Mike Zimmer said he was as shocked as we all were with that 21-0 start, but he said we also knew how thin we were at DB. He said had to make those adjustments offensively, got to stop turning the ball over, stick with the run, and we'll be all right. As for Matt LaFleur, he said after hitting some big plays and getting the run game going, they got in those long yard situations, didn't convert. He said we need to keep our foot on the gas. Chris?
All right, thank you very much, Laura. And Raven Green, speaking of the secondary, this is the Packer secondary, second-year player playing on special teams, being tended to, and also part of the defense as well. Back up to Savage and Amos in that safety area.
Played a prominent role against the Bears down there in that nickel linebacker spot because of the way Chicago plays. They don't get into those heavy formations. So Raven Green was a key guy as they were thin at inside linebacker in that opener.
Yeah, and Rashawn Gary, the first-round draft pick, the rookie from Michigan, thought we'd see more of him today. Mike Pettin wanted to get him more involved. He only played in 6 snaps in that opener. Meanwhile, Cousins, I certainly hope that Green is okay. There's some movement there. Cousins 4 out of 14 so far in this game, and when he's attempted to get the ball to Diggs or Thielen or Rudolph, your top paid offensive talent, he's just 1 out of 9, and hoping that Raven Green is okay.
Raven Green coming across to make a play. Irv Smith Jr. coming in, goes for the cut block, and his lower leg gets trapped. So significant lower leg injury. Unfortunately for Raven Green, you saw him taken off the field in the cards, so thoughts and prayers with him.
And Will Redmond, for 25 in his 4th year from Mississippi State, played with Preston Smith there, comes in. So the official word, Laura telling us it's an ankle injury, questionable for Raven Green after a 2-yard loss. Cousins gets rid of it. Incomplete. Fackrell applying pressure. Carissa has a game break.
Thank you, Chris. So the Cowboys up 14-7 in Washington when Dak will add to the score, connecting with Amari Cooper on a 10-yard score. Dak's 7th touchdown in 2 games. Cowboys leading this one 21-7.
All right, thank you very much. And the official, our referee, saying he was not on the grasp. He got rid of the ball in time. Late defensive substitution running off the field. On 3rd and 12, Rashawn Gary is in. Try and put heat on Cousins. He fakes one way, and Cook has it the other way with blockers. Is it enough for a look at the speed of Cook getting up near the first down? Preston Smith ran him out. Let's see the spot and how close they are to a first down at the 35.
One of the things that Kirk Cousins shared with us, he said, you know, for us to get into our rhythm, to be good offensively, our screen game has to be productive, and it has been at times. They haven't used it a lot. You know, when you make a statement like that in the meetings, I'm expecting, hey, well, I wonder what they saw on film, you know, that they really want to lean on that screen game, but just up a little bit short on that one.
Packer defense up to the task. Trevor Davis back to receive the punt. Colquitt gets it away. Fair catch called for, 25-yard line. Start Saturday strong this week. The big noon Saturday game of the week. Jay Patterson and 10th-ranked Michigan against Jonathan Taylor and the Badgers of Wisconsin. Wisconsin ranked 14th. It starts with big noon kickoff, the pregame show at 11 Eastern on Fox and always on the Fox Sports app. And a Badger fan will be tuning in, I'm sure, next Saturday. Big noon, big deal, big show. After those first 3 drives, nothing on the board for Green Bay. As Jones gets a chunk of yardage, 9 on first down. They averaged close to 8 in the first half. That's why Rodgers was able to move freely and did not get sacked. And a couple of touchdown tosses. The Bears play later in the NFC North, trying to get their first win. The Lions trail 10-6 at Detroit.
Can. Single platform. We 19.
Jones. Like he was run out by Eric Wilson before he got the first down.
And now we're up to one of those 3rd and shorts. It was probably the one area that this Packer offense really struggled with in that first half, unable to convert on a couple of them that really slowed that drive. You saw the first 3 drives how efficient they were, and when they got bogged down, one of the reasons was they were struggling to convert these 3rd and short opportunities.
Zimmer wondering if Rodgers will run the ball here in short yardage. They need 2 or after a loss of 1, or will he put it up? Davante Adams, 5 catches in the game.
77.
And a timeout. So I guess the wrist play list for 3rd downs that they're trying out that they didn't have in the opener.
Well, did we have a misalignment? We had Jimmy Graham outside, and then when they had to call the timeout, right before that they flipped. They brought Jimmy Graham back inside a little bit, so they just have trouble getting lined up in that formation.
Jimmy Graham does not have a catch in this game. Allison has 4 with a touchdown, and Davante Adams nearly 90 receiving yards.
And right here, Jamal Williams breaks formation and comes down, and Aaron Rodgers is going through the cadence, and then all of a sudden we got to flip it right there. He's got to call timeout. So.
He's going to throw it. And the catch by Adams across the 45, showing great hands. And Rodgers holding his right hand as if he got hit after he threw it.
And he actually did it. I don't know if he did it on this play, so it'd be interesting to see. He was backing up when he let it go, but it kind of looked like there was even something on that last play where he did it as well. See if he gets away clean here. Yeah, it was something that was there
before,
prior to that play, because when he called the timeout, he was kind of playing with his.
5-yard penalty. First down.
All right, so an extra man in the huddle or on the field, so the confusion continues, Darryl, from what you pointed out before. Back to the 40, and as crisp as this Packer offense was to open this game, it's been a little sluggish since. From the 40, 1st and 15. Jamal Williams, the back. And he'll gain a few yards. Eric Kendricks on the tackle. Well, you got this Hall of Fame quarterback and Aaron Rodgers, a 39-year-old rookie head coach who's calling the plays, and Matt LaFleur. And Matt said, hey, look, as a play call, I'm not a boss. It's a partnership, and I would never want to make my guy uncomfortable, because the quarterback and his influence on the team, his body language is everything.
Yeah, and it's going to be a process, as they get to know each other and get comfortable with the style. Maybe Aaron Rodgers going a little bit more pass at the beginning of the Bears game last week with some of those options at the line of scrimmage, but kind of swinging back to more of the running game here this week against the Vikings.
Catch run out of bounds is Williams. That'll bring up a 3rd down. On 3rd down, the numbers for Rodgers producing 5 first downs. 5 out of 9 on 3rd down tries. The crowd has calmed here at Lambeau after it was 21-0. Harrison Smith has played a heck of a game. Anthony Barr, haven't said his name a lot, but quietly 6 tackles for Minnesota. Ball's loose on the ground and still scrambling. Looked like the Packers got there first, but the Vikings are pointing. And Minnesota football. Mataafa again. Hercules Mataafa comes up with the football on a low snap that it looked like Aaron Rodgers wasn't quite expecting. So it looked like Rodgers was not quite ready on the snap.
Yeah, he's kind of stepping up, and then it's a little bit low to begin with, and it gets into that pile. And as you pointed out, Hercules Mataafa got in there, and I think I'm going to take him in a tug of war against Aaron Rodgers every time.
Well, you're not going to mess with Hercules. I don't care who you are. Takeaways are even at 2 each. Cousins airing it out, going deep for Thielen, and incomplete. And there's a flag. He was back there with Darnell Savage, and they were both kind of tugging at each other, and it's against the Vikings.
Pass interference. Offense, number 19. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Well, it's a little bit underthrown, so Adam Thielen is going to have to come through the defender and try and make the play.
I saw that right arm, though, of Savage. Push. It's right there. He pushes Thielen back, and then Thielen. Anyway.
Well, Thielen's got a little tug and kind of pulls through, but again, those have been the biggest plays in this game right now. These offensive pass interference calls going against the Vikings.
All 4 penalties in this game against Minnesota. Pass interference. 3 on offense, 1 on defense. First and 20. Cousins. He throws nowhere. Out of bounds. Didn't want to take a loss. Preston Smith all over him.
But I really like the play call by Kevin Stefanski after the fumble recovery. It's one of those classic calls. You're out in your midfield, you take a shot to the end zone. In that situation, just needed to get it up over the top a little bit more for Kirk Cousins.
Dalvin Cook has carried 11 times. He has the only touchdown for the Vikings. His 4th career 100-yard game. A 75-yard career best. He's in there on 2nd and 20. Cook gets to the 45 of Green Bay. Blake Martinez, who takes in the defensive signals, led the team in tackles last year. In fact, 2nd in the NFL, making the play. 3rd down. Packers are the Vikings against this Packer defense, just 1 out of 7, and you see what Kirk Cousins has done. Going deep for Diggs. In the air. Diggs has him. It's a Viking touchdown. His first catch of the game.
Is one of the things that Mike Pettin was really worried about. He said if Kirk Cousins has a clean pocket, he can throw the ball as well as anybody. So they always wanted him to feel uncomfortable in that pocket. They didn't do that on this snap, and this is one heck of a throw. I thought it was going to get picked off by the safety coming across the field right there.
Now there is a flag after the touchdown, and the helmet and jawing with the fans. I'm not sure if that's what John Hussey will call. 45-yard touchdown throw from Cousins to Diggs.
On a 3rd and 13.
Unsportsmanlike.
After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 14 for taking his helmet off. Green Bay has elected to enforce that 15-yard penalty on the try. We will attempt the 1-point try from the 25-yard line.
Yeah, so the helmet,
the 30-yard line.
Diggs, from the 30, they'll try the extra point with a penalty on sportsman. You can't take your helmet off while you're on the field. Diggs may have thought he was already off to the sideline, but in celebration, Remember, he had the touchdown called back on the offensive pass interference on Cook right before the half.
How about this? Now after that penalty, this becomes a 48-yard extra point.
And he missed from 47 on a field goal try. Dan Bailey. The extra point is not good. So digs a bigger hole for the Vikings, but he does hang on for his 25th career touchdown reception. You can only take your helmet off in the bench area. Diggs, after a terrific catch, and his exuberance, and the penalty cost Minnesota a point after they get 6. Davis, a touchback out to the 25.
And here's Jair Alexander all the way over here playing that opposite corner. And he's going to get back in and be a part of this play. And these guys are both tracking the ball. Stephon Diggs and Jair Alexander both tracking that football. And just comes right down to Stephon Diggs. That's a great shot right there. And then he'll continue on. He pops that helmet off. And as Chris said, that can only happen in the bench area. So that really, another critical mistake by the Vikings in that situation.
After a fast start, the offense is slowed, but Aaron Jones with a first down across the 35-yard line.
And kind of getting us off on this kind of odd 5-point lead. You know, we got the extra point pushed back.
And, you know, look, Dan Bailey, if you're a Viking fan, and we know the history of kicking woes that have plagued this franchise, I mean, Bailey missed. If he makes his field goal on this extra point.
Yeah, but that's a great block, Chris. That's a great job of getting low, getting around that angle, and getting that hand up to make that block.
Jones carries, and to midfield, Vikings trying to take the ball away. But again, it was all set up by
by Stephon Diggs pushing him back. But you never know when that play is going to happen. I mean, you sell out, you got a job. If you're the PAT field goal rush coming off that wing, it was a tremendous job. He got low, got a great bend coming around, and got the hand up for the block.
In his 9th season, Bailey survived the kicking challenge in the preseason. Vikings traded a 5th-round pick to Baltimore, and then that kicker was released and was with the Jets. Did not kick a field goal in the season opening win. Did not have an attempt. Williams knocked down, but gets the first down. .23 runs for the Packers. They've attempted 24 passes. Jones 91 yards on the ground.
Welcome. 319. 319. Hard. Can. Wanda. Turbo.
Jamal Williams to midfield. And Carissa has a game break.
I do. Chris, here you go. Seahawks up 14-13 in Pittsburgh. Russell Wilson hands it off to Rashad Penny, who gets a little help from his quarterback en route to this 37-yard score. Russell Wilson doing it all. Seahawks up in this one, 21-13. Ben Roethlisberger out in this game. Chris?
Wow. All right, big news. Steelers in danger of going 0-2. Seattle trying to get to 2-0. Thank you, Carissa. Pick up a 3 from midfield.
Got you late. 319 up.
Rodgers from behind, or that throw would not have been impaired, and Hunter got to him. We haven't seen him shake his hand or his fingers since that last series. Laura Oakland reporting that there was no medical staff attending to him during the off series.
But you watch, he's going to scan the field. He can't find anybody open, going through his progression. And again, one of the reasons this Minnesota front is so good at rushing the passer is the relentlessness. I mean, it's never over. They're just always trying to get after that quarterback.
Well, they made it difficult on Rodgers. He's still yet to be sacked.
66. Hey, now. 19.
3rd and 7, deep drop for the Vikings. Pressure coming. Rodgers slammed at the 40 by Danielle Hunter.
Now you talk about creating matchups and trying to get things done. And this is one of those situations where you've got Jimmy Graham in pass protection against Danielle Hunter. That's not a matchup you want. Jimmy Graham's a great pass catcher receiver, but he is not a one-on-one pass protector against somebody like Danielle Hunter.
Rodgers had to hang out of that football. Hunter trying to take it away from him. First time Aaron Rodgers has been sacked today. So Beebe back to receive the punt. Pressure, gets it away. And a kick that moves Beebe to the 15 and a fair catch called for. A game of streaks, 21 straight for Green Bay, 16 straight for Minnesota, and the Viking defense doing its part. It's Minnesota on offense in a moment. 100th season of the NFL, and the Vikings and Packers have had a lot of drama over the years. You know, the Vikings rank 5th in the NFL in wins since they came in '61. The 4 teams ahead of them in wins, Cowboys, Steelers, Patriots, Packers, have all won at least 4 Super Bowls. The Viking fans know their story.
What are you saying, Chris? What are you saying?
Just saying. That's why Kirk Cousins was signed and brought in. Get him back to the playoffs. Back ahead in this game, and that throw low as Dean Lowry applied the pressure.
And that's been one of the more impressive things with this Packer defense today. You know, the boot series is such a big part of both of these offenses, and the Packers, the guys away from where the play's going, the guys who have the backside contained have done a really nice job. We saw Preston Smith early in the first half. That time it's Dean Lowry, one of the defensive ends. But he's got contain on that side. He's not chasing the play down, just doing his job.
You hit on it last series. Cousins with a big-time throw for a touchdown. On 2nd and 10. Cook is a receiver, bottom of your screen. You know he can fly. Cousins looks the other way, and the catch made. And he ran back and lost some yardage. Thielen is going to be short of the first down.
Yeah, you gotta get north and south as quick as you can right here. You're going to be inside. So just right now, catch it, get upfield. I mean, Kevin King's got you walled off right there. Just try and sneak up beside him.
Savage making a big tackle so he couldn't get up towards the sticks. Cousins has a moment. Throw, catch. Did he hold on? He did. It's Thielen for a first down. Working against Jair Alexander, and that's been a good battle all day.
Adam Thielen on the outside of the duo right there. And he gets lost in coverage, gets on top. Jair Alexander.
A pickup of 30. We've been waiting for Cousins to unleash both 3rd down throws, big clutch throws. And Thielen hanging on. There's a challenge coming here from the Green Bay sideline. Did that ball hit the ground? It's ruled a catch on the field.
There's Darnell Savage coming in, 26.
Green Bay is challenging the ruling on the field of a completed catch.
What caught your eye on that replay? It looked like he held on to it.
It really, you know, he maybe didn't have control all the way through, but he never lost possession. So that's the big thing. Does he ever lose possession? So possession, does he have it? He doesn't have it yet. Still doesn't have it really. I don't think the ground comes into play in that situation. So does he ever have clean possession? Let's go. The next one is 2 feet down. So the 2 feet down actually happened before he really regains possession, but I don't know if the ground played a part in this or not.
Dean Blandino, our rules analyst, with Mike Pereira back at the Fox Network Center watching. Dean, is there enough to overturn this? Ruled a catch on the field.
That's the key, Chris. It was ruled a catch on the field. He has to establish control. It looks like Thielen has control in his right hand. The ball can touch the ground, provided he maintains that control. He does lose it at the very end, but he's rolled over. To me, there's not enough to change this. They ruled it a catch. They should keep it a catch.
Clearly stated. I think Darrell would agree with that. A pickup of 30 yards. Packers sideline was pointing right away.
And because of that little bobble right there at the end, you saw it kind of come. It comes out of his hands, but he never loses. He regains the possession at that point.
Well, Dean was very clear on that. The ground, it can touch the ground, as you pointed out as well, as long as you control it, and he does, all the way up and out of the roll. But again, we'll look at this in live action, real time, just like we're showing you the slow motion replays. Even though they show it here in the stadium on the big screen, that is not something that the replay officials have access to or can use.
After review, the ruling on the field stands as called. Green Bay will be charged a timeout. This is their first challenge, and they have one challenge remaining.
What's also key is now they only have one timeout in a one-score game. Dean Blandino right on target. Dean, thank you for that. Gary Kubiak, the offensive consultant who, as the offensive coordinator Kevin Stefanski said, he amplifies what we do on offense. A guy that Mike Zimmer leans on, has been a steady hand in the offensive approach this season, and there he is. Been a part of many Super Bowls, former head coach, one of the nice guys in the league. In fact, a close friend when Matt LaFleur got the coaching job, the head coaching job in Green Bay. The first call he got was from Gary Kubiak, congratulating him and saying, don't worry, things will get done as a head coach. Crosses midfield.
Yeah, but you talk about the opportunity, the ability to have somebody that you can reach out to for information for Kevin Stefanski in this offense for the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, that's 35 years as a player and a coach in the NFL for Gary Kubiak. And then Rick Dennison, another newcomer coming in. That's 34. I mean, 69 years of NFL experience as players and coaches between the two new additions on the offensive side of the ball.
Gary Kubiak, always a calming influence. Second and 7. Dalvin Cook sprinting to the 40 and a first down for the Vikings. The patience on the run for Minnesota. Remember, I asked you when they were down 21-0 in a hurry there, would you abandon the run? You said, of course not. You have to balance it out. Cook with a big 75-yard score, and now they are showing great balance.
Yeah, they're really getting the Packer front to move laterally, and Dalvin Cook is doing a great job of reading where that play needs to be cut.
17 runs for Minnesota, 21 pass attempts. Cook over 120 yards. Cousins in trouble. Has to get rid of it and does. Knocked down is Irv Smith, the tight end, but that was just survival for the Viking offense.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to move away from that play if I'm calling the plays for the Minnesota Vikings right now, because that's about the third time they've run that during the course of the game today. And for Kevin Stefanski, every time they've called that play up, Green Bay has defended it very well with their run contain on the backside.
A loss of a yard. Mike Pettine's defense, the couple of additions like Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith and Adrian Amos is in on that play. Big difference makers. Thielen in motion. Cousins quick drop, fires. Thielen the catch. There's a flag down. He gets to the 31. Flag back in the area of holding at midfield.
Holding. Offense number 56. 10-yard penalty. Second down.
Well, that's on Garrett Bradbury from North Carolina, the first center drafted by the Vikings in the first round in their history.
So just keep your eye on the center. Working against Kenny Clark. And
he just,
I don't know if you really call that a hold.
He just went right through.
It might be a hold on.
Hold on for dear life. Playing at his first road game, experiencing Lambeau for Bradbury. Got buried on that one. Penalty makes it 2nd and 21. Four-man rush. Cousins short in the pocket. Now has to run back and get rid of it. They're down. Got to get all the way to the 30 for a first down.
And they've really done a nice job with their plan today. There's been a couple of occasions where Kirk Cousins has had that clean pocket, and it's exactly like Mike Pettin said. He's a good quarterback. He can make all the throws, and when he's had that clean pocket, just like that one for the touchdown to Stephon Diggs, he can zing it. But I tell you, Green Bay's done a heck of a job of not letting him feel comfortable all game.
Cousins throw to Thielen, well short of the first down, and the Packer defense will take that at the 46-yard line. Not sure why you'd do that unless you think you can break a tackle or try to heave it downfield.
Yeah, give your guy an opportunity. You never know. Maybe, Adam Thielen, he's going to run after the catch guy. But the big thing is you move it up a little bit. You're at the 45. Now, let's see if we can flip a little bit of field position. Can Britton Colquitt execute this punt and get Green Bay down inside the 6-yard line or so?
The famous punting family, brother Dustin, father Craig, Britton Colquitt. It drops. Can the Vikings pin it? Flag down, and they're on it at the 1-yard line. That's Chris Boyd. As Colquitt points to the skies.
You wonder if you had an illegal fair catch signal running over by Trevor Davis.
I don't know that it'll matter. That was a terrific special teams play.
I was just shooting for the 6-yard line. He got it inside the 1.
Mike Zimmer more involved in special teams with Marwan Malouf, special teams coach.
Personal foul, receiving team, blocking after making a fair catch signal, number 11. The result of the play is a better spot, therefore the penalty is declined. First down.
Yeah, you waste a penalty there because you're already inside the 1. Well, let's take a look, Darryl.
Yeah, you can make the fair catch signal, and you see a lot of guys do that from time to time to try and draw people over. But now, once you do that, you can't turn into a blocker.
Okay. And it was a clear, and once the hand goes over the head or raised, right, that's a clear signal.
Even close. You can get up shoulder level, and a lot of times they'll call that a fair catch signal.
44-yard punt, no return from the 1. A juggling catch by Aaron Jones, and he's got a first down. Harrison Smith knocks him down. Third quarter winding down. Just another chapter in the series of meetings between the Packers and Vikings. Out to the 16. A big play on first down by Rodgers, who's now 19 out of 26, over 180 yards. Rodgers set to throw. He'll throw it away. Aaron Jones was standing by the out-of-bounds marker. You see chatting with Everson Griffin, who got off to a great start, coming off the injury of last year, bothered by an elbow, had some mental health issues that cost him games, but Griffin back. Said, one thing I learned through all this was it's okay to ask for help. Leaned on his family and his Viking family. Zimmer talked about the closeness of this team. Players relate to each other. Linval Joseph part of that.
158. 158. Hot, go. Hot. Can. 18. Turbo.
Play clock went to 0. Rodgers hands to Jones, and that'll bring an end to the third quarter. Packers started with a bang, out to a 21-0 lead. Vikings have worked their way back into it. It's 21-16 going to the fourth quarter at Lambeau. That's how the scoring has gone as we start the fourth quarter. Laura Oakman is down on the field. Daryl Johnston, Chris Myers, we're glad you're watching from Green Bay, Wisconsin. On a 3rd and 6. Rodgers with nowhere to run, floats one, and the catch knocked loose. It was Valdez-Scantling who got his hands on it, and the Viking defense celebrating. Jaron Kearse, the 6'5" safety, the big nickel in the slot corner. Boy, Rodgers put that in an excellent spot.
It's amazing the platforms that he can throw off of, but that's a great positioning too, up high, even with Jaron Kearse being a big tall guy as well. Really good job once he sees that ball coming into the point for the opportunity to catch it, fighting through that to separate the receiver from it.
J.K. Scott back to punt. Beebe bobbles, picks it up. There's a flag down. And Shaq Beebe gets up around the 45-yard line before he goes out of bounds. And it looks like there's another flag. But the first flag, the initial flag on the Packers side of the field at the 27-yard line. And then Ty Summers, when Beebe ran out of bounds, looked like he was involved in a flag.
I don't know if he ran out of bounds, though. It looked like he was hopping down that sideline trying to extend. So
maybe that's what Summers thought. Much to sort out. 4 penalties accepted on the Packers, 6 accepted on the Vikings. 4 of those pass interference.
There were 2 fouls called on the play. The foul along the sideline, after discussion, we've determined it's not a foul since he was running along the sideline. During the kick, we had a holding receiving team. That 10-yard penalty will be enforced from the end of the kick, first down.
Well, then we can get a number there, and there really weren't 2 fouls. There was just one foul and a flag pickup. And is it me, or does every call seem to be going against the Vikings here? I'm sure that's what a Minnesota fan is saying watching this game.
A lot of the big ones. I mean, that's you're out near midfield with great field position, or worst case, it's going to offset. We're going to re-kick,
right? Even if
you get another opportunity, but now you're all the way back at your 23.
And Zimmer, see steam coming out of those sunglasses. Cook gets a block, and look at the power he shows to get across the 31-yard line. We've seen his speed in play as well.
I like that play. That was a nice design in the running game.
He's averaging over 8.5 yards a carry, and he's over 130 for the day.
Yeah, nice job by C.J. Ham. He's kind of wrapping around with the pull, kind of looking like you would see a guard on power gets the block on Blake Martinez.
He picked up 8, 130 for the day. Cook to get more, gets the first down. Stumbled, or looked like he could have gotten up across the 40.
Yeah, exactly. That might have been a little cleaner than he anticipated it, because it looks like he's kind of lowered himself, getting ready for some contact. And if he realizes it's as clean as it is, he might still be running.
That's that feet that you were talking about that Mike Zimmer said.
Oh, he got tripped up on Riley Reef.
The way he picks up his feet and accelerates. Trouble there. He carries. This is Madison. Flag comes in. The rookie from Boise State.
Holding. Offense, number 56. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Bradbury, the rookie center. Remember the left guard. Elfline is out with an injury. Dakota Dozier over there helping Garrett Bradbury. And Zimmer's getting frustrated with the officials.
Well, he should be frustrated with his guys, too. 11 penalties for 100 yards last week against Atlanta. He's got 8 for 115 this week.
It's 1st and 20. Cousins to throw. Screen, but the Packers are ready. And slipping out of it is Kyle Rudolph. Didn't get a whole lot. Now Cousins does have. Remember, they were down 21-0. And you were at this game. You called this game when he was a Redskin quarterback. Matt LaFleur working with him as an assistant coach against Tampa Bay, was down 24-0. Came back to win that game 31-30. Quarterbacked a 24-point comeback.
That could be the infamous "you like that" game.
Well, we'll see
as he went into the locker room.
We'll see if he likes this. 12.5 minutes to go in regulation. Cousins. Cook, who's zooming up the sideline, gets up near the 40. Check in with Kurt for a game break.
Well, could this be another fourth quarter Arizona comeback? David Johnson with a little 1-yard run led to a 2-point conversion pass from Kyler Murray to Keyshawn Johnson. Yes, a totally different one, but it pulled him within 3. Baltimore's answer with a field goal. However, Murray has 341 yards passing and the ball right now with 8 minutes left. Chris and Darryl.
Another big game there. Thank you very much, Kurt. On third down, Cousins is going deep for Diggs. He can't handle it. He stretched out but couldn't get his hands on it. He got open. It would have been a dramatic catch.
And this is the fear. This is that clean pocket again. You know, maybe is there a little bit of a hesitation there? He comes back and then he sees it's coming his way and he can't catch up to it. But just past the outstretched hands.
That's how close a big play. Cousins over 200 yards passing. And now the Packers in a punting situation. Made up some of that yardage off the penalties. Britton Colquitt inside the Viking 25. Diggs does have a touchdown catch, and he had that other one again called back on the offensive pass interference. Trevor Davis, fair catch at the last moment, up across the 21-yard line. Almost. That's how close Diggs and the Vikings came to a big gator, but they still trail by 5. Darryl Johnston, Chris Myers, Matt LaFleur after a fast start, wondering what happened with his offense and his play calling and his quarterback.
He's going against a good defense, but that was a heck of a start, and they just haven't been able to follow it up.
Viking defense has adjusted. Last 8 drives, no points for the Packers. Still have a 5-point lead. Rodgers to throw and gets rid of it and is knocked down. It was a light, brief tap.
Receiver in the area of a pass. Second down.
No penalty. See that list of plays on the left wrist area. That's something they added for this game, mostly for third down, as Laura Oakland reported, working with his first-year head coach and play caller and Matt LaFleur. And a much better offensive performance, as they vowed they would give, than the opener that they won on the road at Chicago. Flag. Jimmy Graham with a catch. Spun down right away. Anthony Harris, who had 2 interceptions last week, is going to go against Green Bay. And Graham.
Pass interference. Offense. Number 80. 10-yard penalty. Second down.
You just can't make contact at the top of the route to create your separation. You see the extension of the arm.
Jimmy Graham without a catch in this game. And now a penalty, so second down and 20. Four-man rush. They collapse on Rodgers, and he's sacked inside the 5-yard line. A big-time rush from Linval Joseph.
Yeah, sometimes it's not walking the guys up. This is like that double, they call it the double A gap mug, where the guys walk up, the linebackers come into the A gaps, and they'll sit there. So you got 54 and 55 up here, but it also makes you kind of readjust everything. Now they back out, and you've got games coming, and guys crashing in, it's still that front four, even when you add, and that's the great thing about this defense. They can generate that pressure with just their down four and have the ability to add a blitz to it to even help out more.
Need to get to the 32-yard line for a first down. Rodgers in his own end zone, dumps it off short. Jake Kumaro has a flag in as he gets across the 15-yard line. And this is going against Green Bay. It may be declined. We'll see. I don't know if you can back them up any further, but after the game, we'll see what the Vikings will do.
Holding, offense number 81. That penalty is declined. Result of play, fourth down.
Geronimo Allison called for the infraction. It'll be declined, and J.K. Scott will stand at his 1-yard line. Chad Beebe back to receive. Backing up inside the 30, Beebe has some room to run, gets a block, and a swift run up to the 40, and no flags. Let's get a game break with Carissa.
Thanks, Chris. Seahawks up by 2 in Pittsburgh when Russell Wilson finds DK Metcalf, the rookie out of Ole Miss. Now has his first career touchdown. Seahawks leading this one 28-19. Chris?
All right, thank you very much. Cowboys up 10 on the Redskins. Time running out, less than 2 minutes to go there. 49ers on their way to going 2-0. 41-10 lead late in the fourth at Cincinnati. And the winner here will be alone atop the NFC North division after 2 weeks of the season. Lions, who lost their opener, winning at home 13-10 fourth quarter against the Chargers. Bears play later against the Broncos. The pitch to Cook. He slips a tackle. Dalvin Cook to the 45. Darnell Savage from his safety spot, and at that safety position, the earlier injury to Raven Green with the ankle. He is ruled out the rest of this game.
Yeah, nice job by Kyle Fackrell right here. Does a good job getting off the block. Goes inside and just loses a little bit of leverage there. The quickness from Dalvin Cook to be able to get outside on the edge.
Kyler Fackrell got in there on him, but Cook, a strong run. 140 rushing yards today. The rookie, Alexander Madison, is in. Madison straight ahead. Inside the 45 of Green Bay. Third rounder from Boise State. Got some playing time last week. And gets a good gain here of 10.
And because you've stayed committed to the running game, you know, this is the time where you take advantage of that commitment to the run late in the game. You know, guys are tired. It's the physical part of the game. You know, in the passing game, there's not as much physicality in the defense of that. But when you're talking about the running game, it becomes one of those battles of wills.
Cook gets a couple more. Excuse me, Madison, as Cook is at 140. That's his career high rushing yards, and Madison giving him a breather. Here's an interesting statistic, and Mike Zimmer gave it to us, and we fact-checked it about how many times the Vikings run the ball versus their record. If they run 25 times or more in a game, their record is 40 wins and 6 losses. Right now, they've run it 22 times. On a 2nd and 9, Cook is back in. Cousins is in trouble. He's got room to run, and he keeps it and gets down to the 38-yard line, short of the first down, but got something out of nothing, and Blake Martinez eventually brought him down.
Well, they've gotten to him. They flushed him out, but he's made some plays. Remember the big play to Chad Beebe going down, got the pass off to him, gave him an opportunity down inside the 5 right before the end of the half. So
now is this 2-down territory where if you don't make it and it's close on 3rd and 3?
Not with this defense. You're down 5. You kick the field goal, make it a 2-point game, and hopefully get another opportunity to come down and kick a game winner.
Cousins complete.
Ooh.
He almost dropped it. Second grab. Rudolph saves the catch and gets the first down. And Zadarius Smith slow to get up for Green Bay.
Yeah, and one of those cardinal rules, you saw Kyle Rudolph turning to his left to try and pick up Blake Martinez. Took his eye off the football before he had it secured, but was fortunate to finish the catch.
And checking on Zadarius Smith. Wrapping the ankle of Zadarius Smith. Kyler Fackrell will slide over to his spot. It's a first down for the Vikings. Dalvin Cook with a hole. Tries to get outside. Pounding his way to the 25-yard line.
Well, I tell you what, you can see why Mike Zimmer likes him so much in the running game.
Not only are his feet fast, but for 5'10" and about 210 pounds, he runs hard as long as just as well as he runs fast.
I mean, he spins off contact. He's so hard to wrap up.
And they're happy with him as a receiver as well if needed. 3 catches today to go with that ground game. Cook again. Looked like he had room to go left if he wanted.
Yeah, and one of the things we've talked about today is how good Green Bay has been at defending that bootleg, but now they're leaving themselves vulnerable to the cutbacks by Dalvin Cook. There's the big 75-yard touchdown run, and you hear people talk about eliminating angles. He did on that play, but in between the tackles, you know, his cutback ability, his vision, his burst, very impressive. And right now the defense is worried about the bootlegs and the things that have come off that run game package, and they're defending it well, but it looks like that's created a kind of a bigger cutback lane for Dalvin Cook on the backside.
Averaging 8 yards a carry, and on first down, this is Madison. And stays up. Alexander Madison inside the 10-yard line. A little bit of a bigger back than Cook, but just kept powering.
I mean, both of these running backs are so good with their balance and at the points of contact. Yeah, I don't know how he comes out of it. I mean, Blake Martinez got like 13, 14 tackles today.
A 14-yard run, so it's first and goal. Madison last week got into the game and had runs of 23 and 17 yards, and that was a big one. Cook is back in. Cousins. Wanted Thielen. Throws a Hail Mary. Kevin King, did he come up with it?
They're huddling up. We'll find out.
It was a very unusual throw, and in that corner of the end zone, it's hard to see, but Kevin King went after it. And I can't believe.
Ruling on the field. The ruling on the field is an interception. First down.
Can't believe that Cousins would throw that ball.
I mean, this is exactly the same thing that Mitchell Trubisky did last Thursday night. There's no reason to throw it. Adam Thielen is your quick option. If he's there, you take him right away. Bootleg coming out. He's covered by Jair Alexander. Now, your second option is Stephon Diggs coming across. He looks open right there, but because Kirk Cousins is drifting back and he lobs the ball up, I mean, there's 3 defenders around Stephon Diggs.
And you had a first down.
You've been running the ball all the way down the field. There's no reason.
It was a desperation throw at a time when you just didn't need to be desperate, and it certainly looks like Kevin King came up with that interception, but they're going to review it as they do all.
Now let's see, he goes to the ground, right? So
Let's
he's got to
see.
maintain all the way through the process of the catch.
Diggs is playing defense there. Does the ball come out?
It comes out at the very end, but is that
does.
secondary act? Because it looked like it was B.J. Goodson coming over the top and knees it out.
Wow.
So watch as he goes to the ground. He's down, he completes the process of the catch, and then it's knocked out after that.
Confirmed a Packer takeaway. Their third of the game. And Rodgers fires high out of bounds. Good defensive play because Valdez-Scantling got his arms on it, and he had to be shoved out by Trey Waynes. If he comes down in bounds, that's a catch and a big gainer on first down. I still can't get over on 1st and goal, Cousins throwing a ball up like that.
No, it's one of those plays where if it's there, take it. If it's not there, just throw it away.
His second interception. Cousins has lost a fumble. And the Packers have a 2nd down 10. Rodgers floats one and incomplete. He was trying to get to Aaron Jones, but Kendricks knocked it off his fingertips.
Well, it's a great matchup. It's a game of matchups, and you get your shifty running back on your middle linebacker. I tell you what, Eric Kendricks does a great job. Watches the ball comes in, reads the eyes, gets that arm up. That's outstanding. He never was able to get his head turned around to track the ball in. He just sees the arms going up from Aaron Jones and matches them and knocks it away.
Packers, after the takeaway, come out throwing on their first 2 downs. Thus 3rd and 10. Underneath. Valdez-Scantling stopped short of the first down, and a big play by Minnesota and J-Ron Curse. Let's get to Carissa for a game break.
Thanks, Chris. So the Steelers trailing 28-19 after a Seahawks fumble. Steelers capitalize. Mason Rudolph finds Vance McDonald for this 3-yard score. They're still trailing. Hawks up 28-26 with under 5 to play. Chris?
All right, thank you very much. And a good one here after the Packer defense digs in to keep Minnesota out of the end zone on an interception. The Minnesota defense forces a 3 and out. Just over 4 minutes to play in the 4th quarter. Fair catch inside the 25 of Minnesota.
Pass is incomplete, no flag.
But that should have been a penalty. Sean Payton is upset.
Ball is up for grabs, picked off. Rams win it, and on to Super Bowl 53 they go.
Coming up, America's Game of the Week. Breeze and the Saints. Goff and the Rams, a rematch of that NFC Championship game. Some will see the Bears and the Broncos. Coming up on Fox and always on the Fox Sports app. And that game, like this game, one of just 3 this weekend, matching undefeated teams in week 2. Dalvin Cook across the 27-yard line. That was an impressive drive by the Vikings last series until Cousins threw up the interception. Capable of comebacks, as we pointed, and we'll give him credit for a 21-0 deficit, not panicking. But I'm sure Mike Zimmer, Gary Kubiak, and anybody else hoping he can pull it out here. And it's almost intercepted. Jair Alexander might have had a clincher. Trying to get to Thielen was Cousins.
Number 23 working against Adam Thielen, pushing up the field and then back out, runs it perfect for him, and then Adam Thielen turns into the defender but undercuts and can't make the play. Jair Alexander is going to be upset with himself. He should have had that one.
Third and 7. Cousins, the throw incomplete. It's 4th down. Thielen the target again, and Cousins looks rattled. You know, of his 12 career game-winning drives we showed moments ago, all of those were with the Redskins. He's looking for his first as a Viking.
Well, he's got to hope his defense gives him a second opportunity to get back out there.
You touched on it in that last series. Even if they just got 3, it would have been an entirely different offensive approach for the Vikings. Instead, they came away empty. And from the 20-yard line, flag down. Davis knocked out at the 22, and here comes another flag that's going to be late against the Vikings in special teams. We'll check that initial flag.
We should have holding, which is going to push the ball back, and then you got Marcus Epps with a late hit. It's just not smart football today at critical times by both teams.
That's had this crew busy. Cowboys beat the Redskins 31-21. 49ers beat the Bengals 41-17. Some of the finals rolling in. The Lions did win at home against the Chargers. And here it was 21-0. Vikings worked their way back into it after falling in a deep hole. And even in New York, they'll look at these late hits.
During the play, there were 2 fouls, 1 by each team. During the kick, holding, receiving team. That penalty will be enforced. After the play was over, personal foul, kicking team. By rule, we will decline the UNR foul and enforce the hold foul from put the ball down at the end of the kick.
Now, Matt LaFleur saying, wait a minute.
So am I.
Yes, I thought, right, you got to enforce a late hit if that's not unsportsmanlike conduct.
Well, why are we enforcing the holding and throwing away the unnecessary roughness?
Maybe because if there wasn't holding.
Both fouls will be offset.
There we go. That's clarification.
The end of the kick.
There we go.
After discussion, that's the ruling on the field. Thank you.
Okay, so it took a while to sort it out. But they offset.
But that's why the hit by Marcus Epps, there's no reason to come in. And he actually goes helmet to helmet on top of that. And you would have had the Packers backed up, just outside their 10-yard line.
And Mike Zimmer's team needs every bit of field position because of the 5-point difference. And only, 3:14 to play now.
I mean, special teams, there's 10 yards lost there of field position. You could have backed Green Bay. Remember the punt, when they had the situation with the punt, they were out near midfield, about the 48-yard line. That one cost them about 27 yards of field position.
Back-to-back games, you saw that. Vikings over 100 penalty yards. Aaron Jones trying to find room. That's his 20th carry in this game. That's a career high for him. Jones nearing a 100-yard rush game. Remember, the Packers only have that one timeout, and they also only have one challenge after they missed one earlier, but that would not come into play once we get under 2 minutes, because then it's all booth review.
Good. Yeah, 319.
Aaron Jones cuts back to the middle. He's got a first down. Gets up to the 35, and the clock runs. We have a timeout, Vikings. Now this message from Hulu. A frustrated Kirk Cousins, costly interception after throwing a terrific deep ball to Diggs for a touchdown earlier to help rally his team. But after the 13-yard run, Jones again stays in bounds. He's over 100 rush yards, third career 100-plus game. And the Vikings, after using one of their timeouts, will let this go to the 2-minute warning. Packers have the football. They have the lead. Will the Viking offense get a chance to try and make a comeback? Packers took the opening drive in, built a 21-0 lead. Rodgers a couple of touchdown tosses, but Dalvin Cook a 75-yard touchdown run. Viking defense tightened up. 21-16. Green Bay's defense terrific today with 3 takeaways, and now it's up to the offense to play keep away. On second down 6, Rodgers to throw, and does for a first down to Davante Adams, who started the game with a big catch Throws over 100 receiving yards. Vikings will use a timeout. Let's get a game break with Carissa.
Thanks, Chris. Letting you know what's coming up next. America's Game of the Week. Drew Brees and the Saints looking to avenge their NFC Championship loss to that guy, Jared Goff, and the Rams right here in Los Angeles. Joe, Troy, and Aaron have the call. Chris?
All right, thank you. Look forward to that. Extremely warm weather, unseasonably warm in Southern California. Something to look for in that game. With gutsy call throwing and completing for the first down.
Oh, I love the call. I like it on second down instead of third down. Don't wait for it. Yeah, and again, the way that Aaron throws the ball off of all the different positions is just amazing.
19.
Aaron Jones. Vikings only have one timeout remaining. Jones is over 100 yards, averaging 5 a carry today, including a touchdown. State Farm game break coming up. America's Game of the Week, Saints and Rams. Somebody there looks to go to 2-0 as the Packers appear to be on their way. Rodgers 22 out of 34, just over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. Cousins 13 out of 31, 213 yards, 2 interceptions and a lost fumble. Cook has had a tremendous day for the Vikings, as Jones has for Green Bay on the ground.
Turn, 19.
Welcome those of you that are just tuning in with Daryl Johnston, Laura Oakman, Chris Myers. The story here, Green Bay out to a 21-0 start. Vikings rally, but the Green Bay defense intercepting Kirk Cousins when he had a chance on a 1st and goal on 1st down. 3 takeaways by Green Bay's defense and the clock running out on the Vikings. The winner of this game will be alone atop the NFC North Division. No timeouts for the Vikings on 3rd and 7. Jamal Williams, bigger back, comes into the game. And it'll be 4th down, but the clock will run. And you see the difference between the play clock and the game clock. And at that point, Green Bay will line up and use a timeout. Aaron Rodgers orchestrating things. Minnesota may get their hands on the football, but when you think of Hail Mary, you don't think of
no,
Kirk Cousins. You think of Aaron Rodgers.
Exactly. And not from the 25-yard line.
I don't know if anybody can throw one of those Hail Marys. And there is Cousins, frustrated.
Delay a game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
And Matt LaFleur, who like Aaron Rodgers said the offense would be better after 10 points in the opening win. LaFleur, remember, he's a grinder. His wife said they put a sign up every season says we interrupt this marriage for the football season, because he is all in, as coaches have to be. The rookie head coach, he was the only one of the rookies to win opening week.
Yeah, one of the things I think he's going to be pleased about today, 34 rushing attempts for 144 yards, is something that was missing in that Chicago game. Played a big part of the game this afternoon.
Beebe lets it bounce and into the end zone, so the ball will come out with 5 seconds left to the 20-yard line. Coming up, Saints and Rams. Jared Goff, Drew Brees. Some will see the Bears and Broncos from Denver. The Packers have a favorable home schedule. This is the first of 3 in a row, and then 5 out of 6 at home here at Lambeau, where Aaron Rodgers seems a whole lot more comfortable. He's just glad they didn't do the wave today when they were on offense. But now they want a lot of noise. Look at how Rodgers getting everybody back like a college coach here. Look at how deep the drop is for the defensive backs. You can't even see them in the picture. Only 3 up front. He needs more than a Hail Mary. He might need a full of grace. They're going to try the lateral. Thielen to Diggs. He's going to flip it back. And the Packers have wrapped this up. Tramon Williams rolls over that one. Aaron Rodgers, Matt LaFleur, fast start, and they hold on against their division rivals. Harold Johnston, Chris Myers enjoying more NFL on Fox. The State Farm game break coming your way, and then America's Game of the Week. It's a 21-16 Packer win from Lambeau.